to Mrs. Karen Dueck from Cairo, Georgia. Karen, how the heck are you doing this morning?
I'm great, JJ. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm very honored and humbled. I know from what I've heard in the past that you don't usually feature people who don't have a machine. So this is really huge for me, and I'm excited to share what's going on.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And the truth is I'm interested in having people on the show who are interested in getting a Kangen water machine, even if they don't have one. I've had people on the show who have Kangen water machines but are not distributors, like Bob Wright, the founder of the American Anti-Cancer Institute. He has a Kangen machine. He recommends them as his #1 priority in his cancer protocol, but he is not a distributor. And that kind of blew me away because I thought, wow, that's weird. And he said, no, it's actually strategic. I don't want people thinking that I'm just suggesting this water so I can make money off of them. And it's kind of interesting. He's a pretty cool cat. He doesn't make money off of anything that he recommends. Nothing. In fact, he doesn't even own the rights to his book. He gave those rights to the American Anti-Cancer Institute. And so, he's really an incredible human being, and I love him so much, and I look forward to having him back on the show again sometime. But anyway, today we're focusing on you, Karen. We're focusing on you and kitties. So,
Okay.
So let's hear your story. How did you come in contact with Kong's Water? What's your story about a machine? And why don't you have one? And how did you get a chance to try it out? Let everybody know what your gig is.
Well, it started a couple of years ago. I had heard about a group on YouTube, Facebook called Home Free, and they're a vocal band. And the fellow Chris Rupp that started the vocal band broke off from them a little while later, and he started a group called 7th Ave. And I started following them and got to know that one of the band members was his sister, Tristan Rupp. And I started following her on Facebook. So one day she started posting about this stuff called Kangen water, and I knew she was like seriously into fitness and stuff like that. So I kind of figured, it's just another one of those fads. But the way she kept talking about it started to get my attention. And so one day, I just messaged her on one of her posts and asked her what this was. And I never in a million years thought that she would give me a time of day. I mean, she's somewhat of a celebrity, in my opinion. She's into all kinds of things. And when she did answer me, I was kind of shocked. But she said, I would really like to talk with you further about this. If I can send you a friend request, we can do that. So I allowed that. And we started talking about the water. And she told me how she had experienced it and how Dan Edlund was one of the reasons she got into Kangen water. And she said, I really think it would help you with your health. And I said, well, how much is this stuff? And she said, well, it's pretty expensive, but, they have financing and whatnot. And the more we talked about it, the more I realized there was no way I could do this. And I told her that. And she said, well, let's just work on it and see what we can do. Maybe we can, get a fundraiser together. And a friend of mine by the name of Selene Jones offered to do a fundraiser for me sometime later to try to raise at least a down payment for a machine. And while we were doing the fundraiser, Tristan messaged me one morning and she said, there's this lady by the name of Amanda Bobbitt that has a bunch of rental machines and you can get one from her and at least try the water. And I'm like, okay, well, how much is that? And I was thinking, maybe $30, $40 a month, but she said, no, it's like $200 a month. And I was kind of like, I can't do this either, because I don't have a job right now and there's just no way I can afford that. And she said, yes, you can. She says, you have your fundraiser that Selene is doing and you've got like, $800 in there. And I said, well, that's up to Selene because she's the one that's doing the fundraiser on my behalf. And I can't just, access the money however I want. But after I talked with Selene, she agreed to PayPal the money to me. And we had just enough to cover the rental for the first month. So I got in touch with Amanda the next day. And somehow, everything just kind of fell together. And I got contract signed and the machine was on its way. And I was really shocked because everything just happened so fast. And you know how it is when there's like a buildup, you know, you're anticipating something really exciting. You know, you've been hearing about this water for months and about the incredible ways that it can help you. And then all of a sudden, you know, the machine shows up and it's just like, finally, you know, I can do this. And when I got the box, this was a big letdown for me because the box came really damaged. And when I opened it up, there was a machine sitting there in literal pieces. And I didn't really know, I mean, I'd never seen a machine like this before, so I didn't even know what to do with it. You know, I pulled it out, and the housing for the filter was sitting on the bottom of the box, and the filter was laying there in a pool of water. There was another section on the side where you have the saline solution for the 2.5, and that had a little bit of water in it, and it was full of salt or something. I don't know what was in there. And I just sat there going like, now what do I do? You know? But I got it up on my counter, and the hoses were filthy, like they'd been dropped in dirt somewhere along the line. And I had, you know, initially blamed FedEx. I thought maybe that it was, you know, FedEx had dropped the box somewhere and they just kind of threw it all back together. But there was literally no cushioning inside the box. It was just like a piece of styrofoam, and that was it. And I called Tristan, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't know how to put this machine together. And she helped me. We did a video chat and we got it going. And that's when we came to realize that the filter didn't have a ring to hold it in place. And so I couldn't even use the machine because the water would squirt in every direction. And then we had issues with the adapter attaching it to the faucet. So that was another problem. And of course, I couldn't use a 2.5 because I didn't have any solution to create the 2.5. And I was like really bummed because this is like my first day, you know, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I've just paid $200 out for something I can't even use. And I contacted Amanda.
So hold on. She charged you $200 a month for
Yes.
that month, that first month when the machine wasn't even operable?
Yes.
Wow.
And I contacted her because Tristan said you have to have that ring to hold the filter in place because you cannot use it without that. You know, it's just the water will squirt everywhere. And I contacted Amanda, and at the time she said she didn't have any filter rings and I would have to go through a Enagic. So I called Enagic, and they were conveniently out of stock on the rings as well, and said it would be probably, you know, 3 or 4 days before they got them in. And I told Tristan about this, and she somehow managed to get in touch with Dan Edlund, and Dan stepped up and got me a filter ring and some of the saline solution and pH drops and had them here within 2 days. And so I was finally able to get the machine up and running. But this was like a week, you know, after I'd actually gotten the machine before all this fell into place. And it was really, you know, kind of a bummer because I had already lost, you know, 2 weeks out, or a whole week out of my rental. But once the machine started to work, it worked very well, and I loved it. I mean, the detox period was really tough. It was probably 3 weeks before I started to feel remotely better, and during that time, I was so ready to give up. I had fibromyalgia, and my pain level before I started the water was at a 10. Every single day. There was nothing I could do to get relief. I've got medications, nothing was working. And when I started the water, you know, with a detox, it made it even worse because now, you know, my body was trying to get rid of all this stuff. And I was ready to give up. I told Tristan, I said, this is not what I wanted to sign up for $200 a month. And she's like, no, it'll get better. It'll get better. You just have to stick with it. And it did. Once I got through the detox period, and into, you know, regularly drinking the water, my pain level went down to about a 2 or 3 every day. And some days were better than others. It just sort of depended on how much I drank. And, you know, I admit sometimes I just didn't drink enough. And then when I got off the water several months later, my pain level shot up to a 20, and it's still there. However, I also started my cats and our dogs on the water. And I've got a cat that's got diabetes. His name is Skittles. And his sugar actually came down significantly during the time he drank the water. And what I didn't realize at the time is that I needed to replenish the water more often than I did. I would, pour it in maybe once every 2 or 3 days, and not realizing how fast it did, the hydrogen in there depleted. So that was, my own fault. I probably could have gotten his sugar down lower had I known that at the time. But I also have a cat outside. He's a semi-feral cat. He's 8 years old. His name is Owen. And he's got 2 diseases. Both are autoimmune diseases. And one is called miliary dermatitis, which causes all kinds of scabs and little sores all over his body. And there's really nothing they can do to treat it. They've given him steroids, and the steroids, they clear it up a little bit, but he's been on them for so long that it's no longer effective. And I got him on the water, and all of a sudden his skin started to clear up. And I would apply a little bit of the beauty water to it. And he didn't like that very much because you know how cats are with water. But, I would take some of the worst sores and just dab the beauty water on them, and it started to clear up. And the more he would drink the water, and he loved it, his whole body seemed to, start looking better. His fur filled out again, and he started to look like a cat instead of, something that had been through the ringer. He's also got a disease called stomatitis, which is an autoimmune disease of the mouth, where his body rejects his teeth like they're a foreign object. And he's had some of his teeth pulled because of that, just to keep the infection down. But there's still a few in there that become infected every so often. And there was nothing I could do for him either except put him on antibiotics, because the vet said that pulling those teeth would change his facial shape because they're his canines. And they run into the nose and all that stuff, into the bones around the nose rather. And it would just cause him a lot more pain and discomfort than leaving them in there. So once he started on the water, that infection started to go away too. He actually was able to eat on a regular basis, and he started to put on some weight. And since we've been off the water, his infections, both of them are really bad. His skin is just horrible right now. He is in so much pain and discomfort every day because of the heat and the humidity outside that just makes it worse. And, he just doesn't want to eat. I mean, he is probably 5 or 6 pounds. And this is, not a small cat. He's 8 years old. And, when he was healthy, he was probably closer to 10 or 12 pounds. So I worry about that. He's a sweetheart. I've raised him since he was a kitten. And I hate to see him in so much discomfort. I mean, he's an old soul, and he's just so sweet. And it breaks my heart to see him like this, and knowing I can't do anything without the water.
Yeah, that this kind of thing breaks my heart too. I saw some of the videos that you showed me, and that's the main reason why I decided to try and embark on this little project here and see if we can get some help for these kitties and also for you. And the thing is, I want people to understand with what we're doing. We're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for people to give anything unless they, if somebody sees these videos that are going to be coming up and they want to do something, then that's wonderful. But what we really want to do is invite people to an auction that's going to be taking place that Karen's going to be putting together, where there's going to be things for sale that the proceeds from the auction are going to go towards getting a Kangen water machine for these kitties. And so, we're probably going to continue to come on and do this kind of thing for a while here until that goal is met, until we might manage to pull enough heartstrings of people that they decide they want to help. And so it's always little steps that make the big things happen in this world. And so this is part of the first little step.
Right.
So how long did you end up having the water, and why don't you, what happened? Why don't you have it anymore?
Well, I kept the machine until January, and that was from September to January. And all of a sudden I noticed that every time I filled my water bottles, and I had glass ones, that there was this white residue that was getting stuck to the bottoms and the sides of the bottles. And I didn't know what that was. So I started just using vinegar and water and cleaning them out every day. And that seemed to work. Didn't really worry about it. But then it got worse. It's just like every day there was this buildup. And then one morning I went to fill my bottle and there was this white debris floating all over inside the bottle. I'm like, I'm not drinking that, but I tasted it and the water had kind of a salty taste to it. And I thought that was really odd. So I asked Tristan, what it was. And she said, it sounds like calcium buildup. And, she said, you better talk to Dan. So I asked Dan and he said the same thing. And he said, you probably need to, clean it. And I'm like, well, I don't have a cleaning kit. He said, you'll have to get that from Amanda. So I contacted Amanda and she said, well, it'll be about $150 to do the cleaning or get the cleaning kit. And I'm like, I just paid $200.
What? Now, hold on a second. What? I mean, so she rents you this machine, and the thing is everybody in Enagic, especially somebody like Amanda, she should know that these machines are supposed to be cleaned once a month. So she gave you a machine and didn't give you the cleaning kit so you could properly maintain it during the 3 months or whatever period of time that you were going to have it. She didn't provide you with the cleaning kit to go along with it, and she was charging you $200 a month?
Yeah. There was no cleaning kit. There was nothing in the box except the machine and the pieces. And like I said, Dan had covered, the pieces that were missing initially. And she made a comment at one point and said, well, this was up to Tristan to tell me about and teach me how to clean the machine. And I'm like, how can that be? And she said, she's your mentor. And I said, no. I said, she doesn't become my mentor until I actually purchase the machine from her. And I said, I'm renting the machine from you. And she said, well, you have to, buy the cleaning stuff and it probably needs a deep clean. And still no manual on how to do this, no, suggestions on what to do. And I just said, well, I can't do this. And I mean, I had just paid another $200 for the rental and I had 2 weeks to go on that month and I couldn't use the water. So I packed it up and I just said, I'm going to send it back because I can't do this. And all she said was, well, I'll get it cleaned up. And she says, I'll make it really, nice for the next family that's going to get it. And I said, well, I wish I would have gotten that same kind of treatment because, I've lost exactly 3 weeks out of my rental, over a 4-month period. And I can't use the water. I said, can I at least get my $200 back? And she said, no, I can't afford to do that. Wow. And I'm like, well, I can't either. And another thing that happened, the first week I had the machine, after I had paid the $200, it was about 5 or 6 days later and my PayPal account got debited a second time. And Miss Pat, who's the lady I live with, came up to me one morning and she said, why is there $200, being taken out of my account by PayPal? And I'm like, I don't know. And I went to looking at it and it said Kangen Wellness on it. And I'm like, I've already paid that. And I said, I paid it with the fundraiser money. It didn't come out of, your account. And we came to find out that Amanda's software had debited the account a second time that same week. And when I called her about it, she's like, oh, well, she goes, I'm just learning this new software. And I guess I didn't set it to, take the money out monthly. And I got really upset. It's like, this isn't my money. This came out of somebody else's bank account and her money is tied up in household bills and things like that. It's not my money to take. And I said, can you at least PayPal it back to me? And she said, no, it'll have to go through the system and it'll probably take about 5 to 7 days. And, that put Miss Pat out because, she's got all kinds of bills and stuff to pay. She pays the rent on this house. She has a truck that needs insurance and, she still has to buy food and everything else for the household. And $200 is a lot of money when you're on a fixed income, so that really put us out for a week. The money was eventually returned, but it really left a bad taste in my mouth in the end. And what I did when I sent the machine back is I cleaned it thoroughly. I made sure every single piece of it was dry. I sent the filter ring back that Dan had sent to me, made sure that it was in pristine condition. And I sent her a letter, stating that I'm sending this back to you in better condition than what I got it. But I cannot afford $200 a month for something that doesn't work and, add more things on top of that I have to pay for when I'm not working. And, I said, if I had not been so passionate about the water, this would have completely turned me off of Kangen water and Enagic and the whole 9 yards. But because I had experienced, positive results with the water while the machine worked, to me, it was still worth it. I was just really upset at the business side of this. But, you know, as far as the water was concerned, I knew that it would work. And if I had a properly working machine, I'd have stayed on it indefinitely. So for me, that was really, you know, an odd experience. And I still feel kind of cheated, you know, and resentful about that. But it's never been about the water itself. You know, I know it works. I love it. And I am desperate to get a machine back into my household so that we can all benefit from it, not just, you know, the cats, but also the humans that live here, because we need it. You know, I've got health issues. Miss Pat does, her husband does. And we have a lot of family members, you know, on the extended side that have health issues that could benefit from it. So we're trying to do everything we can to get a machine back in here.
Wow, that's a crazy story. I mean, that is sad, actually. Wow. Amanda Bobbitt saying that she can't afford it. I don't know how much money she makes. I know she makes a lot, and you know, I'm not going to contemplate on how much, but I know she could easily afford to refund a couple $100. It certainly wouldn't be any skin off her nose. But yeah, that's a pretty crazy story, and I'm so sorry that ended up happening, and definitely want to share this out so that people can beware and not be, you know, it's just mind-boggling to me that she would be renting these machines out for $200 to somebody who wants to buy one, you know, because that literally that $600 that you spent over that 3-month period of time, that would have been 2/3 of the money you needed to get your own machine. And that's really sad. I mean, it's actually kind of sad that Tristan even suggested that you rent a machine, because, you know, that's money that goes into somebody else's pocket. And what good does it do you? I mean, that's just a mind-boggling. This whole thing is totally mind-boggling to me. But you know, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's you know, we learn lessons from things like this, and then we move on. And I guess it is a good thing that you got a chance to actually utilize the water and see how it worked for your, you know, how it helped your body. Because we got to make sure that we let everybody know that, you know, it's not the water that's the gift or the magic, the miracle, the cure, whatever. The magic, the miracle, the cure is the human body and the kitty body. You know, their little bodies will heal themselves too if they get the right tools that they need, so they can become their own mechanic. Because that's what Kangen water is. It's the #1 tool that the human body needs so that it can fix itself, so that it can literally become its own mechanic and do the job of fixing itself. You know, it's just like when you cut yourself, you don't need to do anything unless you really slice and dice yourself in a big way. Then you might need to have it cleaned out. You might need to go ahead and stitch it up and that kind of thing. But otherwise, you know, when you cut yourself a small cut, it heals itself up. And, you know, so the human body is designed to heal itself, and it will heal itself. Just like Dr. Barry Oss says, there are no incurable diseases, but there is a point of no return. And so, you know, when the body gets what it needs, it can do amazing things. And so it's really, I guess it's a blessing that you were able to get to try the water for a period of time. It's a dang shame that it costs you so much, because that's literally almost everything you needed for a down payment to have your own machine and be part of the company and be able to start sharing these machines and selling them to other people and get yourself into a positive cash flow situation. But you know, with that said, that's part of what our goal is here, is to help generate some interest and get people to, you know, take a look at the auction and see if there's anything that they want to bid on and buy. You know, people that have cats, kitties out there that, you know, I know that there's going to be some really neat little kitty toys that are going to be available on this auction, and all of the proceeds to those are going to be going to Karen and the kitties. In fact, my sweetie made all these little kitty toys, and I know she'll make as many as people want to buy. So you can let everybody know in the auction that if more of them sell than what are actually on hand at the time, just let them know that more can be made and sent, and my sweetie will make as many of them as necessary, pay for them, pay for the shipping to get them to you and everything, so that you can take all proceeds and give it towards yourself and those incredible kitties. And so at this point, Karen, what I'd really like to do is introduce some of these kitties. I know you have some pretty incredible videos that are fairly heart-wrenching. I know they wrench the heck out of my heart, because I just hate seeing things suffer. I hate seeing animals suffer. I hate seeing humans suffer, and it just breaks my heart. And so that was part of what I wanted to do today, is introduce some of these kitties to people. So if you wouldn't mind, let's see some of these videos that you got going. Let's show our people. Let's show the people that are going to be seeing this as time goes by, and people that are watching on the live side. Let's see some of these little kitties. Let's meet them.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to do first was actually show you some of the pictures of Owen when his skin gets really bad. I've got some of these pulled up here, and let me just give you an idea of what he deals with on a daily basis. Okay, this is his skin. Probably about, I think it was last summer, just before we started on the water. That is just one ear, and right above his eyes, you can see.
Wow.
Is that showing up clear?
Yeah. Too clear.
This is his other ear. That's the inside of his ear. And he's got these all over his body. I mean, right now, they're just horrible. And he's not bleeding, thankfully, but he's starting to lose fur again, just like he did in some of these photos. This is another one where they got infected. And what I did with this is I put the 2.5 on it, and it thankfully didn't sting. But he was able to heal from that. I had taken him to the vet, and they gave him an antibiotic, which also helped. But the 2.5 took out the itch and the burning and stuff like that from this, and it was able to heal up pretty quick. I also have an inside cat named Biscuits who had the same problem, and this is her at the worst. Same thing, and this comes from fleas. She had one flea on her, and because she's an inside kitty, I don't usually give them flea medicine because they don't really get exposed that much. But she ended up at the vet too because of her infection being so bad. Now this is what Owen looks like after the water. You can see it's all healed up. His fur was back in, nice and thick, and he looked amazing. I mean, that was about maybe 3-4 weeks after he started drinking the water and having the 2.5 and the beauty water applied to his skin. So he looked pretty amazing. Aside from that, there's a cat named Tommy Boy that I've been taking care of. He's not my cat, but he belongs to a fellow that I know down the street from us. And Tommy Boy also has stomatitis, which is an infection of the teeth and gums that I mentioned earlier. It causes horrible mouth ulcers, and it makes him not want to eat because his mouth is so sore. The vet said this is one of the worst cases she's seen, and she said he actually had ulcers down inside his throat. That's how bad it was. And the only way to deal with this is to pull the teeth, but because he's so old, she felt really uncomfortable putting him under. So right now we're just treating it with antibiotics and pain medicine. I go over there every other day and give him a dose of gabapentin. And it works, but he's at the point now where he's going to need to go to the vet again for some more antibiotics. And I really think if he started on the Kangen water, he's never had it, he would benefit from it a lot. I mean, it would keep the infection, at bay. It worked on Owen, so I had no reason to think it wouldn't work on Tommy Boy. But in this video, if you just give it a minute, you'll see how he struggles to chew because he's in so much pain.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been really hard on him. So I'm going to turn the volume on because you can actually hear him making noises with his mouth because he's in so much pain. be a couple of hours before he's feeling well enough to really eat. But this is the difficulty he faces on a daily basis. It's bad. He shouldn't have to go through this at his age. He's lived a good life, but unfortunately, these autoimmune diseases don't play favorites. They just pick on whoever they want. So, thank you for letting me share him with you. Sorry.
You can see how he's struggling to eat.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Okay, so that was Tommy Boy. I will show you another cat that I've got named Ben Ben. Give me just a moment to pull it up. Ben Ben suffers from herpes, and he has a very hard time with his eyes. That's where it's really bad. He gets this gunk in his eyes every single day, and it gathers around the outer part of his eye, and it itches and it hurts, and it just makes him miserable. There's nothing I can do for him without the water. This worked on my cat Percy, who is an indoor cat as well. I used the 8.5 and the neutral water to clean his eyes, and also just dropped the 8.5 in it like eye drops, and it did help him. Again, we weren't on the water long enough for him to really experience, a long-term, healing from this. But knowing that it worked on Percy, I think it would work on Ben Ben as well. And Ben Ben is not extremely feral. I mean, I can touch him, so I'm pretty sure he would let me work on his eyes and try to get some healing going on here, because he's miserable. I mean, this is every single day. And you can just see how he's, rubbing at his eyes and shaking his head, just trying to, get that discomfort out and get the debris out of his eye. I mean, there's just a lot of sticky, gooey stuff in there.
Yeah, you can see how uncomfortable he is. And
yeah,
he needs 2.5 water, something fierce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, despite all that, he is just a sweet little soul. I mean, he's very friendly. He loves attention. I don't know where he came from. He's only been here about maybe 6 to 8 months. So I don't know his story, but I take care of him because I can't just let him suffer like this. I'm doing all I can to at least feed him and, give him good food, make sure that he's at least got that. But he desperately needs to have Kangen water. I think that's the only thing that'll work for these ferals, because I can't give them medications very easily, especially the ones that I can't touch, but they do drink water. And if I can provide Kangen water for them every day, I think that would make a difference.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. I have another cat. Her name is Lois. Let me just pull her up here. She has severe asthma, and it's very hard for her to breathe. I'm going to turn the volume up on this one so you can listen to her breathing.
So that kind of squeaking sound, that's her breathing?
Yeah, that's wheezing coming from her lungs, and she does it both inhaling and exhaling.
Oh, man, that hurts. Oh. Oh.
I won't torture you anymore, but that's just some of the stuff that she goes through every single day. And it's worse in the wintertime when she is dealing with cold weather. That makes it even harder on her. So I remember you were telling me the other day about your sister who had suffered from breathing issues and how the 11.5 worked on her. And I'm thinking the same thing would work on Lois if she would drink the water. I mean, she's not a huge water drinker, but if I could, give her own bowl, in her private place, she might. And I think, that it would help her at least open up those lungs, because we've tried steroids, we've tried antibiotics, we've tried breathing treatments, and nothing has helped her at all.
Wow.
So this is another cat I've got. Her name is Mama, and she was extremely feral a year ago. I managed to tame her enough to where I can touch her now. She's been with me just a year, and she recently had a urinary tract infection, and the same week that she got sick with that, her little kitten Puzzles passed away as well. So not only was she a grieving mama, but also dealing with a very painful urinary tract infection. And I ended up taking her to the vet, and they gave her antibiotics and pain medicine and a steroid shot to try to clear this up. But I found her one night just sitting in a pool of her own urine, and she didn't even know. I mean, she smelled so bad and looked awful, and she was miserable. And the fact that a feral cat allowed a vet and the techs at the vet clinic to pick her up and treat her told me how sick she really was. And as you can see in the video, she is an avid water drinker. Unfortunately, that's tap water, because that's all I've got. And I think that if I could just get some Kangen water into that bowl several times a day, that this cat would be extremely healthy. She's doing better now, but she's still not putting on the weight that she had before. She's not really wanting to eat a whole lot, so I'm thinking she's not feeling 100% just yet. But this is just one of 15 cats, and they all have their issues. Most of them are relatively healthy, but I've also got a litter of brand new kittens. They are just 4 weeks old today, and they are absolutely adorable. They, I just love them to pieces, but I just don't know how to get them started on Kangen water without the machine. They're just now starting to get interested in solids, and I've got a little bowl of water in the cage with them. But I don't have Kangen water, and I think it's kind of sad that they're starting their life drinking tap water. They're just now getting interested. This morning I was in there feeding their mother, and they started getting interested in her food. So I felt, one of the mouths, and they've actually got little teeth in there now, which means that in the next week or two, they'll start getting interested in solids. And, I'm just dreading the idea of starting them on tap water. But, bottled water, I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it. But Kangen water would give them the best start in life and give me some healthy kittens to adopt out in the next few weeks. I've got 2 that are already spoken for, and it's really a hard thing, because you just don't know, what the tap water will do to them long term. I mean, that's all they've known, and yet I know better with the Kangen water, what that can do for them and give them the best start in life. I have a friend, 2 friends that are husband and wife, and they're taking 2 of the kittens, and they're interested in the water. And I said, I can provide you with that water if I just have a machine and make sure that you guys are healthy and the cats are all healthy, and everybody will feel better in the long term. But it's a matter of having it in my house, to be able to do so. I'll just show you a really quick picture of some of these kittens, just to give you an idea of how absolutely adorable they are. This was taken yesterday. This is, he's 4 weeks old, and just as sweet as he can be. Loves attention, loves to be held. This is him trying to get out of the cage. Just being a total sweetheart yesterday, and he's so funny. He's a real ham. Let me see. This is one of the siblings, a little bit different color.
he likes to be called a badass. You know, he thinks he's mean, but he's just as cute as he can be when he's angry. So, you know, I just feel so guilty when I look at them and I can't give them the Kangen water. This is the other one, the third one. And, you know, it just broke my heart when I watched them being born and knowing that there's nothing I can do to help them other than feed them and give them tap water, you know, and hope that I find somebody to adopt them. You know, their mother, she's relatively healthy, but she belongs indoors, you know, with a senior citizen or maybe just, you know, a young couple who doesn't have any kids yet. But I want to keep her that way. She's going to be spayed as soon as the kittens are weaned. And I want to adopt her out to somebody who will love her and take care of her properly and hopefully get her on Kangen water and give her the best, you know, rest of her life. But, you know, this is the frustrating part for me is I can't afford the water without doing a fundraiser. And even at that, you know, if I don't raise enough to purchase the machine outright, then I still have to come up with the monthly payments. And that's the other challenge. So right now, I'm not really sure how to go about this other than to do an auction on my page, you know, and I'm more than happy to do that. But auctions are a big deal. You know, it takes a lot to put into it. And when you don't get very many bids, it makes it a little more difficult to, you know, even bother with it because so much time and effort goes into planning it, putting the albums together, and then when the auction is done, having to go through and gather addresses of all the, you know, bidders, sending the shipping money to the donors and making sure everybody gets their stuff mailed out. It's a lot of work, you know, and we just did an auction in the past couple of weeks, and it has taken us almost a month to get through it. I mean, we're just now on the tail end of it. So I don't want to start a new auction and not have, you know, something worthwhile out of it. My goal with this next one is to raise money strictly for a water machine. I want the SD501. I know how well it works. I loved it. And that is my goal. So if I can raise even the down payment, you know, I'd be happy. I mean, I will figure out the rest later. But for right now, I want to get these cats back on the water. I want myself and, you know, the rest of the members of our household to be on the water so that we can all get healthy. You know, Miss Pat, the lady I live with, she's got multiple health issues. And yesterday she said, I want to try the water because I know if I do, that other people will want the water because of how sick I am. And, you know, that's huge. I mean, for somebody who's on so many medications and dealing with so many health issues, you know, it would really blow people away to see her get better.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Wow. Yeah, that's I know for me that's pretty heartbreaking stuff. I know this, if I had a loaner machine, I'd be sending it to you stat, and I would loan it to you for free. I would send with you everything you needed to be able to take care of it and all that stuff. And I just you know, unfortunately, in my particular case, I made some really stupid decisions over the last year and a half in investing in some real estate things and some other online marketing stuff that I thought would help build my Kangen water business. And all of it turned out to just be lies and empty promises. And I managed to get myself into about $50,000 in unsecured credit card debt. And I would have been so much better off if I would have just bought 10 K8s. I would have been way better off if I would have done that, you know, and I'd have a bunch of loaner machines to go ahead and loan out to people. But hey, you know, we make our decisions, we do the things we do, and then we have to learn from the mistakes that we make, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But, you know, what I'm hoping is that by getting this information out there, that we might get some people that want to get in on the auctions, want to buy some of the things that are available on the auction. You know, let me ask you this, because, you know, we're trying to promote this auction here. What kind of things do you anticipate being available for people to look at and be able to potentially purchase on the auction? What kind of stuff is the auction going to have in it?
It has all kinds of stuff, really. We take anything from books to clothing, jewelry, handmade crafts, knickknacks of all kinds. There's collector's items, gosh, I mean, the list is endless, really. We take anything that is in good condition, you know, as long as it's not broken, it doesn't stink, doesn't have stains, you know, that sort of thing. It's acceptable. And the only thing that we have to do is have, you know, a donor take pictures of those items, send them to me via my page on Facebook. It's called Friends of Ferals, and then dash Lois's Lounge. And all you do is send the pictures in with a description of the item, and then give me a starting bid and a shipping cost. If you don't know what the item is going to ship for, you can just say to be determined on zip code, you know, for the winning bidder. And then the winning bidder has to give me their zip code, and I'll send it to the donor, and they can figure it out from there. It's very simple. You know, we only take maybe 1 or 2 pictures per item because we can't have too many in the album. But then just make sure that everything is accurate in the description. But yeah, we have all kinds of stuff. Cookbooks are a big hot seller. Kitty toys always, which is why I'm excited about the ones your wife is putting together, especially when they're handmade. Everybody loves that. I have a friend here that lives near me who just made a whole bunch of kitty toys, and every one of them sold. So that's always a big deal. You know, even, go ahead.
I want you to know that all of the kitty toys that my sweetie's making, you have an unlimited supply of them, and they're all yours. They're all for you and your kitties, okay? And so if there's something that sells really well, by golly, keep them for sale and keep them going. And my sweetie, I promise you, she'll make as many of these things as people want to buy. If they want to buy 1,000 of them, she'll make 1,000 of them. We'll donate.
Wow, well, thank you. That's really sweet.
Whatever we can do. I want to really, this is a really heartfelt thing for me. This isn't the normal kind of Kong family show that we do, but it's, in my opinion, this is probably one of the more powerful things that we could possibly do. And, you know, it's just something that is, you know, this could be done for dogs or any other kind of animals. I'm sure there's plenty of dogs out there that are suffering in this exact same way, that they're wishing that somebody would step in and help them. And so I just, you know, I'm so, I can't really say proud of you, because I can't be proud of something, you know, people say they're proud of this, proud of that. You can't really be proud of things you don't do yourself. And, but I can say that I've got a tremendous amount of respect for what you're doing and how you're trying to do it, especially when you're in a situation where it's not like you got money coming out your ears like Amanda Bobbitt, and yet you're taking whatever you've got and doing what you can do. And I have tremendous respect for what you're doing, Karen, and that's why I really want to help. But, you know, who knows? Maybe just Tina's little kitty toys will bring you all the money you need. You just need to get them up for sale and sell the heck out of them. And as many as sell, you know, you might sell $5,000 worth of them. But, you know, until you have your Kangen water machine, those things are available to you for free. And we'll even pay the shipping to get them to wherever they need to go, all the way until you have yourself a deposit for your Kangen water machine. And then, you know, I really believe that once you have that machine, that it's going to be all downhill from there. And, you know, because you're going to be able to share these stories with people, you're going to be able to share. In fact, you know, a lot of times when it comes to the stories that get told about this water, there's a lot of people out there who go, oh yeah, whatever, it's just a placebo effect. They don't, you know, well, the thing is that kitties, they don't know anything about placebos. Puppies, they don't know anything about placebos. Birds, you know, whatever kind of animals, they don't know anything about placebos. And so that whole excuse just flies right out the window when it comes to people that are seeing the stories and seeing what's taking place and how this water is affecting the little machines of these animals. Because these little animals, they're the same. They're machines. They're just like us. They run on hydrogen and electricity, just like we do. And the thing that people need to come to grips with is that our bodies are a machine that run on 120 millivolts of electricity and hydrogen. And the thing is, the problem is that pretty much everything we eat, everything we drink out there in our society today, not only does not provide hydrogen and electricity to our body, but it actually steals it. It actually steals that hydrogen and that electricity away from our bodies. And we wonder why we just keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker and more diseased as a society. Well, I'm telling you right now, kids, it's because of what we're eating and what we're drinking. And if you want to turn that kind of stuff around, you simply must give your machine the hydrogen, the electricity, the hydration, and the alkalinity by default that your body needs. And your body can heal itself, just like that kitty that you saw. What was the name of that kitty that you showed him before and then showed him after? That was on the water?
Owen, with the skin. Yeah, Owen.
Owen?
Yeah, he looked amazing after several weeks on the water.
And now that he's
So
not
it's
on the water
definitely
again,
worth
what's
it.
happening?
His skin is very bad. Well, it's worse than it was before. He doesn't have the bleeding going on like he did in those pictures, but his skin is covered in the spots from his head to his tail. And on his underside, he's got huge welts down there, and there's nothing I can do for him. You know, and it's just, he's so uncomfortable, especially in Georgia where it's hot and humid all the time in the summer. That doesn't help. You know, that just makes matters worse. And the vet said it's just, you know, one of those autoimmune diseases that, you know, it just happens. There's nothing, you know, that you did to cause it or that he did to cause it. It was just a virus in his system that became active for some reason. And, you know, it's like his mom, Lois, same thing. You know, she's been with this breathing issue pretty much her whole life. And she thinks that's just normal. You know, that's how all cats breathe, but it's not. You know, and if I could just get some water into her and get her lungs opening up a little bit and show her that, you know, you can breathe better. I know that she's probably got a few good years left in her. She's probably about 9 or 10 by now. And I worry all the time that I'm going to lose her when she's breathing like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know that my heart's broken by this, and I really want to do what I can do to help. And at this point, I think that the best thing I can do is help share what you're doing. When you get the thing figured out, what the date is of the auction, please make sure that information gets to me. One of the things I'd like to suggest to you when it comes to sharing the posts that you make about this, if you can't go and share them from your page to my page, I don't understand why Facebook is doing that. But what you can do is just go post it directly on my page. Go to my page, J. John Surprise, go in the link there and post it. You can also go to the Kong family page and post it there. As the Kong family page is open to anybody can post there. I'm just having faith that if people do go post there, that they're going to post things that are legitimate and good. I don't have any desire to regulate it or anything like that at this point. If for some reason that becomes necessary, then so be it. But if that's the case, I'll give you posting permission. But you know, this is something that's near and dear to the Kong family's heart, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to continue to try and do everything I can to help this come together, so that these little kitties can have this water, and so can you. You know, because you can't exactly go out and rescue kitties if you don't have your health. And you know, if you don't get your health in order, it's not going to be that long before you're not going to be around either. And so that's a problem for me as well, because I have tremendous respect and love for what you're doing and for you. And I really want to see this all turn out for the better. And I really believe that it can. And this is just going to be an incredible story about how we are doing what we're doing. You know, we're the Kong family. We're here to change the world. And you change the world in all kinds of different ways. And I think that your story in the long run is going to be a tremendous story that's going to affect a lot of people's lives and a lot of animals' lives as the days, weeks, and months and years go by. And so I'm really happy to have been able to have you on the show today. And I'd like to ask you one last question before we move on. And I'd just like to know, how is it that you ended up doing this? How is it that you ended up, you know, caring for feral cats? You know, most people, they see a feral cat, they want to go kick it or something, you know. And so what's your story behind all that? Why are you so interested in helping these kitties?
Well, it pretty much started when I was 7. My dad took us to his friend's farm for a weekend, And I told him this a few weeks ago. I said, it's all your fault that I love cats, because if you hadn't taken me to this farm where I got introduced to cats, I probably would never have, realized it until I was much older and maybe not cared as much. But his friend's daughter had a litter of kittens in the barn. She had a mama cat out there, and she took me out the morning after we got there, and she laid 6 or 7 kittens into my arms, and I was just a little kid, and I was mesmerized with them. They didn't get me out of that barn the rest of the weekend, and that's where my love for cats started. And then after that, I didn't have any pets until I think we were about 12 or 13, and all of a sudden, a neighbor girl brought a little kitten to me, a little calico, and we had just had a chat with my dad about this a few weeks before. He said, no more pets in this house because you guys can't take care of them. And here comes this little calico kitten. And I brought him to my mom, or her to my mom. And she said, well, you have to go ask your dad. And initially, he kind of looked at me with that, I told you no more pets. And he looked at that kitten and he said, okay, but you got to take care of it. And Boots stayed with us until she was about 16 years old, and she became Dad's cat after I moved out of the house. And after that, I got my own cats. I had my own place, and that's where it really started. And when I came down to Georgia, we had a dog. She's been at the Rainbow Bridge for several years now, but I took her out one morning, and she kept pulling on the leash to the side of the house, and I didn't know what she wanted. And I was kind of one of those people who didn't like to run around the yard in a nightgown, but that's all I had. And I went with her to see what was so exciting. And there was these 3 little kittens sitting in the hedges next to the house. And she had smelled them from the front door. So I went out there and, kind of looked around to see if there was a mother anywhere, and I couldn't see anything. So I picked them up and I put them into my carrier, and then found the mother later that day, but she wanted nothing to do with these kittens. And she had 2 other ones with her. And she seemed to baby those, but didn't want anything to do with the 3 that I had. And I thought maybe it was my fault because I had picked them up. But I left them, with the carrier open, and she still didn't come anywhere near them. So eventually I just decided to, raise them myself and try to find a home for them. And one day, Miss Pat just said, well, if you want to keep them, you got to take care of them. And they've been here ever since, and they're almost 9 years old now. So that's where that started. And over the years, I swear there's an invisible sign to humans on our front lawn somewhere that tells cats there are vacancies here because they keep coming. And I can't turn my back on them. That's just who I am. When there's a cat that shows up, I've got to take care of it. And now we've got 15 of them out there. And it drives everybody nuts, but I just can't turn my back. I have to take care of them. I have to make sure they get spayed and neutered. I have to make sure I feed them, and, just show them some love, because so many of them are either strays or complete ferals who have never had human contact. And one of my biggest rewards is being able to tame a feral cat and getting them to trust me enough to where I can at least touch them. I may not be able to pick them up, but to be able to pet them and just let them know that somebody cares. That means the world to me, and this litter of kittens I've got, I've been trying to catch their mom for months before this happened. I didn't want her to get pregnant again, but she did. And I swore up and down, once I catch her this time, that's going to be it. There's going to be no more babies. And now I've got her in my kennel where she's safe. The kittens are safe. And as soon as they're weaned, she's going to be spayed. Because I am a firm believer in the trap, neuter, and return program. I think it's very important to prevent unwanted kittens. There's so many out there in shelters that, are being euthanized because there's just no room. And that's not fair to them. They didn't ask to be here, but they certainly didn't ask to be killed either. And I am, friends with other rescuers who do similar things. And, we're all in this together. I have a friend in Oregon who I'm very close to. She's got 44 cats in her care. Some of them are also very sick and need Kangen water. I've been working with her on that for a long time. And I'd like to be able to get her some water. I've got some other people on my page that are interested in the water. But it's always, coming down to a matter of, do we feed the cats or do we buy a machine? And right now we have to choose the cats because it's so expensive, you know, and when you're on limited income or you just, you know, don't have any at all, you have to rely on your page, you know, to support you that way. You know, we do that often. We either do auctions or fundraisers, or we simply post our Amazon wish lists to get food and other supplies in as needed. So it's not an easy thing, but we love what we do, and we do it, you know, because we love the cats. And they deserve it. You know, they didn't ask to be on this planet, but it's our responsibility to take care of them. And you know, I don't know if any of you are religious, but I always go back to Genesis, where God told Adam in the Bible to take care of the animals of the earth. And animals not, you know, Adam's not here anymore, but we are. And I will, you know, take that very seriously. It's like, you know, he left these animals behind for us to take care of now. And somebody's got to do it. You know, not everybody loves cats, not everybody loves dogs. And, you know, we see enough pictures on the internet every day of animals being abused and killed for various reasons, you know, in an unfair situation. They don't have a voice. So for me, I have to be their voice. And that goes for all the other rescuers out there. You know, I have the utmost respect for them. You know, I know how hard it is. And, you know, instead of bashing each other, we need to pull together and take care of these babies, you know, as a group. They always say it takes a village to raise a child, and I think that goes for animals just as much.
Awesome. So, real quick here, I'd like to open up the house to Suzanne and also to Pat, and ask you two if you guys, either of you, have any comments or any questions or anything like that for Karen.
Hi, JJ. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So I've known actually Karen. We met about almost 6 years ago. Karen reached out to me. I'm a cat rescuer out here in California, or Oregon, excuse me. And she actually had sent me pictures of Lois back in that time and videos of her struggling to breathe. And it really touched my heart back then. And through the years, Karen and I have become very good friends. We team up on cat auctions quite often. I've been a cat rescuer since 2006. I kind of have the same deal, this magical neon sign out to cats saying that this is a safe place to come to be taken care of. And you just can't turn away those needy souls. We are the front line, really. You hear so much about rescues, you know, your nonprofit rescues, but it's those people out like Karen and I that have that majority of those cats needing the help that come to our doorstep. And I'm just very excited what you're doing for her with trying to help out with this auction for her to be able to get the water. Because I saw firsthand, too, through the pictures and videos, and have been, you know, I talked to her every day and saw how well it helped her kitties that were on it. And I'd like to see that again. And hopefully maybe in the future for my own brood of kitties that have medical problems.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. My thing about Kangen water is that literally every single living thing on this planet needs it. For you yourself, it's the single most important thing that you could possibly do for your body, for your health. There's absolutely nothing in this world that you can do for yourself that is more important than Kangen water. I'm a firm believer in it. I thought it was a joke and ridiculous when I first learned about it. When I first heard about it. Once I learned about it, once I actually took the time to learn and get some information into my brain cell, I only have one brain cell. Everybody else has all these I just have one. And once I finally opened up that brain cell and let some information in, I went, holy moly, I've got to have this. And we bought it immediately. I never even tried the water. That's not true. I drank one glass of it. Big deal. Tasted like water. And but I didn't need to. Once I learned the properties of this water and what this water is all about, it doesn't surprise me in the least the way it helps people, not even in the slightest, because from getting involved with this company, I started to learn about the human body, about the pet body, and I started to realize why this does what it does. And I didn't start into the business or anything. I bought it for my health, and you know, because I'm 53 years young now, and I'm getting younger every year now because of this water, and I'm tickled pink about that. And once I started feeling the benefits of it from drinking it, that's when I embarked on the desire to know why. Why is this doing what it does? Why does this water make tea with ice cold water? Why? And once I started doing my digging, doing my due diligence, started learning about this water and how it works and why it works and what makes it special and why it has a lifespan of only about 24 to 48 hours. That's why it's so important to have a machine, because the water loses its characteristics and just becomes regular old, plain old poison water. This is probably the biggest thing that really blew my mind once I learned that water, H2O, perfectly clean, perfectly clear H2O. I'm not talking tainted, dirty water. I'm talking perfectly clean, perfectly clear H2O. I call it life's great conundrum. I think it's a dirty little trick that God played on us, because on one hand, you can go maybe 7 days without it, and if you're not dead, you're wishing to God you were dead. And on the other hand, it's poison. It's killing you. It's causing your body to eat itself from the inside out. They call it the universal solvent for a reason. It's acid. It is acid. It eats through things. And so it literally causes your body to eat itself. That's why I call it poison, because it's a very, very slow poison. It's not like cyanide, pop some cyanide and you're dead. It takes a long time. It takes a whole lifetime for water to kill you. And the thing is if you drink Kangen water, it literally provides life. It is life. It is alive. And we can prove it. And I've got videos and stuff that literally prove and show you exactly what's happening and why it's happening. And so that's my mission in this world, is to get Kangen water into every household, every restaurant, every person who's willing to actually pay attention to the meeting or the minutes of the last meeting. And so I really encourage you, Suzanne, to do your due diligence and understand that literally you can have this water for as little as $45 a month. And, this company has an incredible financing program for people who do not have credit, that you don't even have to have a job to get Enagic financing. They don't check your credit. They don't care whether you have a job or not. All you got to do is come up with the down payment. You come up with that down payment. If you live in Oregon, you don't have any sales taxes, so you could get a machine for way cheaper than Karen can get one. And then your monthly payments, if you can't make your monthly payment, you just call them up and say, hey, I'm a little short this month. I'm sending you what I can. And they say, fantastic, send what you can. Keep sharing the water. And, it's pretty interesting the way this company works. The first person who utilized the Enagic financing program never paid a payment for the first year. And now his name is JV Pacifico. He's one of the top money earners in the company. He's making like somewhere around about $100,000 a month.
Mm.
And he couldn't make his payments and didn't make his payments for the first year that he had his machine. And Enagic didn't report on his credit. They didn't send Bubba to come break his legs and take his machine back or anything like that. They just said, keep sharing the water. And that's what he did. And now he is changing people's lives all over the world. He has thousands and thousands and thousands of people under him in this business. And, so that's what this company is all about. This company has as big of a heart as you two do as far as helping people. You kids are helping kitties. The Enagic Corporation is helping people and kitties, by the way. So anyway, I do love what you guys are doing, and I respect what you're doing, and I really appreciate what you're doing, and it's very heartwarming to me. And that's why I wanted to have Karen on the show today. That's why we're going to make an unlimited number of these kitty toys for her to sell, so that she can get her machine and get her kitties this machine. And you know, if you're doing these kinds of auctions and stuff, we'd love to try and help you out as well, Suzanne. And so, you know, that's something that I definitely would appreciate it if you'd send me a friend request on Facebook. I'm J John Surprise, JJOHN Surprise, SUPRISE. Feel free to send me a friend request. Make sure that when you send that friend request, you also hit the message button and say, "Hey Jay, this is Suzanne from Oregon. I just met you on the Kong Family Show, remember?" And that way I know who you are, because I get a lot of friend requests, and a lot of them I don't even accept. It drives me nuts when people send me a friend request and don't tell me why. And so make sure to remember to hit that message button too, and remind me. And but yes, I'd love to friend up with you and see how the Kong family can help you in your endeavors with trying to help kitties as well. I'd love to be able to answer any questions you have with you know, how you can procure your own Kangen water machine through Karen. And because I'll help you learn. You decide to buy a machine, you're going to buy it through Karen. And well, at least if you want to. It's up to you who you buy your machine from, but you're not going to buy it from me. You're going to buy it from Karen or someone else, hopefully Karen. But you know, depending on what your situation is, there's a way that if you were able to afford to buy a Kangen water machine, you could help Karen get one too. And I can explain all that. We'll explain that in another place and another time if you're interested. But my recommendation is learn about this water. Once you understand what it is, how it works, and everything about it, and how you can literally change your life forever, both physically, mentally, and financially, you know, it might just become something that becomes priority number one. You know, and one little comment just from my own personal thought process, Karen. Personally, I would not neuter, because I'm pretty sure I don't think the veterinarian's paying for these spayings and these neuterings. I'm guessing that that's coming out of your pocket or coming out of the funds of, you know, whatever fundraisers that you're doing to spay and neuter these kitties. Personally, I say it is 1,000 times more important to get them Kangen water than it is to spay and neuter them. That's just my opinion. You take that for whatever you want. But I know if it were me, there's no way I would spend one dime on a spaying or a neutering until I had a Kangen water machine. And then once I had that, because that should be priority number one. That should absolutely be priority number one. Because you're not doing yourself any help, any good by spending money to do that kind of thing. If the veterinarian were providing that service for free or at an incredibly extreme discount, then that might be a different story. But until you have a Kangen water machine, you really should not be spending money on that kind of thing. They're going to live being not spayed and not neutered, but they're not going to live much longer. And as you can see from some of the problems that some of them have, they very much need Kangen water a hell of a lot more than they need to be spayed or neutered. And so I just had to throw that out there, because that's how I am. I'm a very direct person. I put things out there. I'm not really too concerned about people's feelings when it comes to the truth. And so that's all I have to say about that. And before we go into the last little segment, Pat, you're kind of hanging out there in the background in the bleachers. Is there anything you have to say while you're there? Huh, beautiful lady, huh?
No, she knows all I had to say.
Okay, well then, good to go. Well, I sure appreciate you two being here. It's a pleasure getting to meet you. And I do appreciate everything that you're doing to try and help Karen and in helping these kitties. And I appreciate everything you're doing to help kitties, because I love kitties. And they've always been a huge part of my life. And as I see here now, it's been a lifelong endeavor for you that started when you were a kid, Karen. And so it gives me all the even more respect for you. And the last thing I'd like to do is I'd like to, if you could, please give everybody that's going to be watching this as time goes by, please give them all of your contact information, how they're going to be able to find out about the auction when it comes up. Please go nice and slow and spell things out so that people know how they can get a hold of you, how they can donate stuff to the auction. You know, Rodgar, Stephanie, Alex, that are on the live side, any of you guys, if you guys have anything that you would like to donate to the auction, please, you know, reach out to Karen and try to help her out, and, you know, put those things out there so that she's got something to utilize to help with this incredibly noble project. This is something that can really help people. And, you know, as these kitties, keep this in mind, you guys, because I know Rodgar and Stephanie and Alex, they're all part of the Kong family. They have Kangen water machines. I'll tell you what, you guys, something like this will be very, very powerful. When you see these kitties, when you see the befores and the afters of these kitties, this is going to be a great investment to you. Whether it's something that you would like to maybe directly donate money towards the cause, fine. If you just want to donate something that could be sold at the auction, something that you make personally, it's just anything that can be sold and can get a little profit made off of it. I'm telling you right now, you guys, number one, you get to write it off on your taxes. And number two, you're helping with an incredible mission, an incredible heartwarming story. And number three, when you get these before and after pictures of these kitties, it's going to be proof positive that this stuff works. People can't go, oh, it's a placebo effect. No, kitties don't know anything about placebos. Puppies don't know anything about placebos. So this is super powerful tools for us to utilize to be able to show people the power of the human body, the kitty body, the puppy body, when it gets the hydrogen and the electricity that it needs to operate. So please, search your hearts, search your souls, and do what you can do. I know that Tina and I are going to be doing everything we can do to try and make this work and help this cause. And so anyway, with all that said, Karen, please give everybody the information that they need so that they can hook up with you, so that they can get you auction materials or information or money or whatever, so that they can join in on the auction and see what's for sale. And maybe there will be something that they want to buy. Who knows? I don't know. Only one way to do it, and that's to know about it. So go ahead and give them your information so they can get a hold of you.
Okay. Well, I have a page here on Facebook called Friends of Ferals, and then dash Lois's Lounge. And that's where you can, join our page. Just, hit the like button and you'll start getting notifications. The other thing I can do is put my contact information in the comments below this video. I believe that JJ saves them. Or I can have him put it directly on the page. I have a PayPal account. If anybody wants to donate directly, we can do it that way. Checks are acceptable as well. I prefer to do PayPal if possible, but we can do checks if absolutely necessary. The alternative, of course, is to put something into the auction that you'd like to sell or bid on stuff that's in the auction. Once I figure out a date and I have, an album created, I will post that on the page and you can share it anywhere you want. The album is free for anybody to look at, and nobody is obligated to bid. But if you see something you like, or you see something somebody would like, share it with them. Sharing is just as important as donating, because even when somebody can't afford it, it takes 2 seconds to share it and send it to people who might be able to afford something. And I mean, we don't put really expensive prices on our auction items. It starts usually $2 to $3, sometimes a little more depending on what it is or how heavy it is. If it's fragile, it might go for a little bit more. If it's an electronic, we've had people actually donate computers to the auction. And you can get yourself a laptop for like $50. You can't do that in most other places. So we have all kinds of stuff. but there's plenty of ways to share it, plenty of ways to help. So just, take a look at the links that I will provide, JJ, and also on my page, and you can go ahead and, do what you feel you want to do. Again, nobody is obligated, but, we appreciate every single thing we get that's donated. Every monetary donation that comes through is deeply appreciated. I try to send a personal thank you to everybody. If I miss somebody, I'm sorry. I get dozens of messages every day, so sometimes it's easy to miss, when I'm sifting through all this stuff. But please don't ever think that it's not appreciated and desperately needed. In this case, it will all be strictly for the Kangen water machine. I promise, JJ, I won't spay and neuter anybody this time. But, that is important to me. But this last auction, it was supposed to, help with that too. And unfortunately, we've had to spend more money on food than anything else. And that's another thing that people can donate is food from our wish list. We always need food. As a rescuer, Suzanne can understand that. And if there's any of, my other rescuer friends listening in, we all know what this is about. It's expensive. They need tons of food. We go through a 16-pound bag every 4 days of dry food and a case of 24 cans about every 3 days. So, when you have 15, 20 cats that need food, it's ridiculous, really. But they got to eat. That's the biggest thing. And without the food, they're not going to need the Kangen water either. So, but yeah, please, think about it. If you really are not in a position to help, that's okay. Don't feel bad. Just share it when we get it up and running.
Yeah. Now, I could attest to that. I mean, for about 44 cats, I go through $200 easy a week with food and litter.
Yeah.
So, and that's very, very bone, down to the bones. So I do know what you're going through there.
Let me give you a little tidbit, Suzanne, and you, Karen, in regards to this water. The human body, the kitty body, can go quite a long time without food, but it can't go very long at all without water. And the truth of the matter is if these kitties get this water, it'll decrease the amount of food that they eat. I promise you that. If they've got a constant supply of this electrolyzed reduced water to drink, it will decrease the amount of food that they eat. Just like with humans, when humans start drinking this water, their food consumption goes down. And that's why they end up why people lose so much weight using this water and gain muscle, is because they don't, there's a known thing with a lot of the doctors that are out there that are utilizing this water in their practices. A lot of times people think that they're hungry when really what they are is thirsty. And they're trying to solve their thirst problem with food. And I promise you, if you get this water, you get it into these kitties, you will be amazed at how much it decreases the amount of food that they want to intake. Because they've got this water, because this water is really what they need most. Because your body is a machine that runs on electricity and hydrogen. And if it gets that, because that's what this water provides, you can see it in the water. You can put a lighter up to it, and you can literally light it on fire as it's coming out of the machine. And then you can switch the water over to your tap and put the same lighter up to your tap, and it does not light on fire. It does not go pop, pop, pop. And you see the flames going up you don't see that with tap water. You divert it back over into the machine, coming out the machine, you stick that lighter to it, and it's going pop, 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 pop. Because that's the hydrogen that's in the water. It's splitting the molecule, and it's actually giving it an electrical charge. That's what their little bodies need more than anything else. And so I promise you this, Suzanne, if you start giving them this water, your $200 a week, your $200 a week food bill is going to cut in half. That's my bet. And, so just think about that. That's just food for thought. But, that's what happens. I know that's what happened for me. I went from eating 3 meals a day to eating 1. And I'm not hungry. I don't need it. I got more energy than I know what to do with. I'm feeling better than I've felt in years. And and I just don't need the food. I'm not hungry, but I'm feeling good, and I've lost weight. All my issues that I had have gone away, and so I just know for a fact that this water is the single most important thing that you could possibly do for these kitties. It's the most important thing you can do for yourself, and you'll know what I'm talking about once you start drinking this water on a daily basis. And then when you give it to these kitties and they're drinking all this water, they're just not gonna be as hungry, and that's just the way it is. And it doesn't have anything to do with what I think about it either. It just is what it is. So, food for thought. And that's that's what our goal is to educate people by educating people, we can change the world. And so anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. Thanks to you guys that are over there on the live side on the Kong family page. And as usual, we are the Kong family, and we have this really simple goal. We just want to change the world. And that's what we're doing. People might think that's nuts, but no, it's not. It's actually happening. We're changing the world every single day. I get to see it happening every day, and it's an incredible blessing. We're doing it one glass of 9.5, one little kitty bowl filled with 9.5 incredibly hydrogen-rich, oxygen-saturated, ridiculously hydrating Kangen water, 9.5 at a time. One incredible guest, one incredible mission, one amazing show, and one awesome family at a time. So thank you guys so much for your time today. Make it a great day. Have a great weekend. Get out there, change the world, starting with your own. We love you guys. Have an awesome weekend. And of course, not forget your hugs and your HooDeeHoos. Love you guys so much. Make it a great one. Bye for now. Thanks for being here. God bless you for what you're doing, you two.
Thank you, JJ.
You're welcome.